I don't know about you, but I am totally stoked. Part 4, the last part of Chapter 4, Fortress Fundamentals. Let's jump into physical security. So, we've discussed end user training, end user passwords. We've discussed privacy, kind of taken a step back in the fact that, attackers are going to get those usernames, get those passwords. We're going to do what we can to protect that, to make sure end users don't reuse passwords. They don't use those silly passwords like password 123, etc. But there is another big area of security that is cybersecurity related, and that's the protection of the facilities, the protection of the devices that stores all this data, right? Especially today with mobility, work from home, all of that stuff. So physical security is a crucial aspect of overall cybersecurity posture, right? It's the protection of the hardware and the software, the networks, the data from physical actions. Because if I steal a laptop, I've got now all the time in the world to figure out how to access that data, right? So we have to protect the devices. Think about how much of your corporate information is going to be stored on your end users' phones, right? We have to protect those as well, even though those might not be our devices. BYOD, bring your own device, is a pretty standard practice, right? I do a lot of my business, a lot of my teaching on my laptop, on personal, keep things different. I have 2 different user profiles. That's how I choose to do it. It works well, okay? And of course, the drive's encrypted highly, etc., so on, using those pass keys, utilizing tokens, the YubiKeys, etc., okay? So we've got to protect the facilities that have the data. Like I suggested, drive by a data center. Look at the cameras. Look at the gates, right? Look at the barbed wire. Look at the bollards, which we'll get into in the front. Look at all of it. And then the implementation of AI as well within this area. So in the first section of physical security, we're going to look at device and workplace security. So securing devices, right? Protecting laptops, mobile devices, sensitive documents, paper documents, hugely important. Are we locking those up in the evening? Are the filing cabinets being locked and not readily available for any paper documents that we're having to keep? At one point, I worked for the insurance industry, and oh boy, within a year, everything was going to be paperless. I still go into that insurance company, and they got rows and rows and rows of paper documents that all have personal identifiable information because, as you know, go get auto insurance. What are they doing? They're running a credit check because there's that direct connection between good credit and good driver, right? So they're storing PII, and that could be in paper format as well. So when traveling, we need to be using locks, right? I carry a cable lock. When I'm traveling, if I'm in a hotel, that computer is going into the safe. When it's out, in case, I happen to run someplace real quick, anytime I leave, I put it away. But cable it so it's not easily taken. A lot of these thefts are just that. They're opportunistic thefts. They're not about stealing the data. They're about stealing the device, right? But when they steal the device, they're stealing our data. Now, there are software that we'll get into that as long as that's on the internet, as long as it still has a wireless connection, whatever on a cell, we can wipe the data at least from the device, okay? So proper device handling is huge. Again, locking them up, thinking about where you're traveling. By the way, not traveling with that, free Dell laptop case that says Dell all over the front, right? But putting it in something that doesn't look like a briefcase, that doesn't look like it has a laptop in it. A backpack, at least it doesn't look like a laptop case, right? Workplace security, we already talked about, clean desk practices, confidential information being put away In governance, we're going to talk about different levels of documents, right? What is a confidential, document versus a public document within a workplace. So device and workplace security, we can use MDM, mobile device management, software tools, right, that allow us to remotely manage the device. So let's say we have an employee that leaves the company, they took their device with them, they're not coming back, or maybe they got in an accident, they're in the hospital, we don't know where their device is, we can't communicate with them. We can remotely wipe that device, we can install new software updates, right? We can monitor usage. And then, of course, we want to implement zero trust. Now, we will talk about zero trust heavily in the next chapter, but zero trust, right, is an approach that assumes no one is trusted by default. Continuously verifying the identity, the access permissions of individuals, identity and access permissions of devices before granting that access, right? Whether that be physically, so you go to a secure building, you're going to have to show ID. The other day, went to a military base. I had to show my state ID as well as my passport, okay, in order to gain access. Those kind of things. So MDM software, Microsoft makes a product called Intune, SOTI, VMware has AirWatch, Manage Engine. There are a ton out there. All of them do a great job. Of course, if you've got Microsoft, implement Microsoft, right? That stuff all plays together. So, physical security controls. So, tangible mechanisms, those walls, those fences that we saw in that image, right? Locks, bollards. So, what's a bollard? Well, a bollard is a physical barrier installed in front of entrances or along sidewalks to prevent unauthorized vehicle access, protecting buildings, and, by the way, protecting pedestrians, right? So unfortunately, we have some of these physical attacks going on, in areas where there's a heavy density population of pedestrians. Installing bollards will help with that in those high-risk areas. Okay, so these are the bollards right here, maybe a little hard to see. These can, by the way, be permanent, or they can be projectile, which means they pop up. So, on military bases, data centers, etc., you might not see these until someone or AI cameras see a threat, right? Because let's face it, they can be a pretty big eyesore, especially around, great modern architecture, etc. So if we pop those in the ground, they can just pop up before that threat hits that area, okay? So Mantraps is essentially, and let me tell you, AI did an okay job on this, but think of it more as two doors with an area in between, okay? So basically a Mantrap, a security feature with two doors where only one door can be open at a time, okay? This is going to reduce, by the way, piggybacking, sort of. Ensuring individuals are screened before entering a secure area. So, to get through the first door, you do your badge. Maybe you do a second factor of authentication, like your thumbprint, and you get into the first door. And then you're between the two doors. Now, first of all, this also works as a security because you can be locked in that area, okay? In the fact that it may be a weighted scale that you're standing on, and if that weight is more than the average one person, right, and say somebody piggyback, you got caught piggybacking, right? You let someone in. Maybe somebody gave you the sob story. It's their first day. They left their badge on their desk. They're going to get in trouble, blah, 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 right? What's the right policy? The right policy is to stay outside, call security, have them come and get that person, escort them, and make sure that their identity matches their badge, and indeed they're supposed to be there in that authorized area, right? Also, there can be different levels, which means we might go through multiple man traps. You might have a man trap to enter the building and an additional man trap with additional requirements to get into a secure area where physical servers are in a data center, right? Anyway, so you're in the second area. You might then have to scan your badge again, put in your thumbprint, and you get into that second door. Okay. Now, turnstiles, are still used. We see these in high population, high density areas. such as ball fields, concert arenas, you name it, right? Subways, in high density times of day, there's usually somebody monitoring. Now this could be AI that monitors, as we'll see in a minute, okay? But, it's a one-way spinning door. It really keeps the honest people honest. It also can be used to count how many people come in to a facility, right? To make sure we're not over capacity, etc. Security monitoring, so just a few additional things. Integrating smart security systems. I'm going to introduce you to some AI integration. You get to decide where the balance between marketing, data for profitability, privacy, and security is, okay? I'm going to leave that up to you. But integrating smart security systems that combine that physical and that logical into a single security system so that everything is monitored, right? And this can include monitoring employees while in the premises. Because remember, insider threats are a threat. AI and machine learning come into play, utilizing advanced technologies to analyze video, identify unusual behavior, potential threats, finding out that an employee who knows that they don't have access to an area tries to gain access to an area, etc. Okay? This enhances threat detection and response in the fact that security could be notified, law enforcement could be notified. Now, watch this video here. What you see is VAP, which is from Cisco Meraki. I'm not sure if it's their product or a third-party product that most likely is implementing AI, in this case, in the video, simply to count people in a mall, right? But this software can do the following: people detection and count, people flow, store traffic in hot zones so that we can make sure that, popular products are moved around the store. Where do we want hot zones? In the back of the store, right? That's why the milk is in the back of the grocery store, because that's what people need the most. They want you to pass all those other products so that you make that emotional buy, right? Dwell times, queue length monitoring, occupancy, age detection, gender identification, emotional analysis. Imagine this stuff in a movie theater, trying to figure out how the movie did, right? Is this the emotion that we wanted the moviegoer to get at this point in the movie? I don't know. Quality inspection, inventory management, shelf monitoring, object sorting in a warehouse. This might all be good stuff, especially in large, retail shops, right? Where loss prevention resources are at a minimum. If I have one or two loss prevention officers and they're watching someone, it could be that they're watching someone and someone else, associated with them is stealing half the store. Well, with AI in this detection, we could know that. We could put this and monitor high dollar items on shelves, making sure when somebody picks up that high dollar item and puts it in the cart, their next stop at some point is the checkout. And if they bypass a checkout, notify loss prevention, right? Then we've got vehicle distribution, vehicle count, directions, average busiest hours, and number plate, which we refer to as license plate recognition. So, do you want Safeway when you go there, or Albertsons or Kroger, to see and know your license plate is in the parking lot? That could be pretty darn interesting. Again, I'll leave it up to you. So finally, let's just do a quick conclusion here. I'm going to read this sort of verbatim, add a little bit along the way. So, user awareness training empowers individuals to act as the first line of defense. Again, we need to build that culture. We need to empower them. We need to make notifying us of a potential vulnerability as simple as possible. Or end users aren't going to do it, right? Password management safeguards access to the sensitive information. That's that first key, if you will, to protecting our data. Hugely important. Password management, password training, etc. Maintaining privacy, crucial for protecting personal and corporate data. Consumers now are starting to say, wait a minute, I'm not going to do business with you because you have too much of my personal information, right? Too big of a profile, whatever the case may be. Interesting. So, is crucial for protecting personal and corporate data in a digital age. We know that data is gold today. We also have to worry about physical security. It's not just about the data on the logical data or on the physical device, but protecting that device that sits in the building. That is equally as important. And it's part of a resilient cybersecurity strategy. All of it. As cybersecurity professionals, it is imperative that we, continuously adapt. We remain vigilant, like I shared with you, always thinking like a hacker, right? Necessary to apply the foundational concepts and stay informed about evolving threats and best practices. So, I'll leave you with this. I love what I do. I love educating and I love cybersecurity. It is like cops and robbers every day. I'm constantly educating myself. That can be through news, knowing about breaches, taking it to the rabbit hole. How did the breach happen? Why did the breach happen? Etc. It's about news. It's about white papers. I've trained my Google to give me that information on a daily basis. And I even will go on a regular basis and ask my Google Assistant, hey G, I won't say it or she'll answer, what is my cybersecurity news today? So I get the top 5, top 6 things from the news pertaining to cybersecurity. I can't encourage you enough to constantly educate, become passionate about your career. That's what's going to create a long-term, enjoyable career with fantastic benefits that far exceed the money that you will be paid. Take care.